Hello everyone, this is going to be my guide to Scale Peak, one of the new dungeons on the PTS. Some of the polls are going to be a little bit messy because we still didn't quite learn everything on this run, but we know the general basis enough to get you through the dungeon. I will try to do my best to explain each dungeon boss in depth. So this first one, there are a couple different mechanics. You don't want to get the outside boss too close to the middle boss because they have a poison AoE, and whenever you see the middle boss do that animation, the tank, just the tank, needs to run over here and grab one of the ice things. I accidentally didn't break out and the healer died because of it. That kind of made this polio to shit. But you want to just have the tank do that, the DPS keep DPSing. And the other thing is, the middle boss will occasionally throw up ice pillars, like this, and then you have got to hide behind them because it's kind of like Zahaza. He destroys the ice pillars. Or no, I guess that would be more like a Domhouse from Valkyrie Fold. Um, the other mechanic is you have to kill these guys evenly, or else they will sort of enrage and one shot the entire group after a little bit. So, like this, he's getting everyone up, and I went in a little bit early. I shouldn't have done that. See, that animation right there. That's what the tank needs to be looking out for. The other thing is the middle boss has a bash mechanic, and if if I had known how to tank with an ice staff, I would have actually slotted an ice staff on the backboard to bash that, because it'll make life so much easier on the DPS. Um, Again, see, this is the ice pillar mechanic. Everyone needs to go hide behind the pillar. Doesn't matter which pillar they go to, just go whichever's closest. Um, these skeevers, whenever they die, they turn into like a little turret thing, and they start damaging the entire group. See that? That's the powerful AoE. See, it almost killed the healer because I brought the guy in instead of using a nice staff like a normal tank would. He's got a frontal cone from the middle boss, and that's about it for this boss. Oh, you can also sneak past the next pole like this if you want to skip some ads. It's really easy to do, and that pole's kind of a bitch. Okay, this next boss. This is actually one of my favorite bosses that I've ever seen from a boss because it mixes so many different mechanics. This is the new mechanic that they added for this boss. Is see that tether? That's a little AoE that does damage to everyone. The next mechanic is the orbs will fall down, and the DPS have to focus the orbs, and anyone who gets close to it will get turned into stone, and someone has to break free them. Um, what you have to do is, whenever that orb spawns, the DPS focus it. The tank is chaining in these ice wraiths the entire time, so whenever they're on the boss, they'll be able to kill them. And the DPS focus the orb, because you don't want too many orbs up at the same time, because if you push the boss, you'll get like 4 orbs at the same time. What the orbs do is, whenever you get too close to them, they turn you into stone, like HRC. But, you know, Crypt of Hearts 2, how the one boss makes you break for your partner? There's another synergy exactly like that if you get stuck in the orb. So the DPS focus the orb, it'll go away from you after a while, like Rakat's tethers on pad 5 and beyond. And you just keep doing that throughout the entire fight. Um, if you do not break for your partner for too long, he will use laser eyes from like the orbs are sending to go ahead and just one shot people. I missed a block is what happened there. Um, let's see. The For the tanks, the boss also has that little pound thing there, and that's about it. Beforehand, try not to pull all the gargoyles at once because that'll really suck on your tank. If you have a magma shell though, you can probably eat it. Okay, so this boss is more annoying than it is hard, just because you have to stop every 10% to go kill an ad that'll one-shot people if you don't. So what you do is you have your DPS throw down, like, just conduit or whatever, just like one AoE and then just heavy attack it to death. And then every 10% like this, there's going to be a random Lemmiad that spawns. Um, I'm going to have you do this fight a little bit differently depending on if you have Stam or Mag DPS in group. They save their ultimates, and see every 10% there's an ad. The tank just holds it in the middle and just walks out of the AoEs whenever they spawn because it'll knock you down. Um, this is like stage 5 in VMA, the ice rank round. The water's poisonous or whatever, but the icebergs are safe. She's not going to break the icebergs though. So every 10% there's an ad. You have your DPS go out and kill the ad, then throw down one AoE and heavy attack the boss to death till it gets the other 10%, go out, kill the ad, and this is whenever I'm going to have you do something differently. If you have two Magicka DPS in group, I'm going to have you go ahead and, if they both pull about 30k DPS, go ahead and have them save ults, have the healer save a Nova, and the tank save a Warhorn, and you're going to drop all four of those at the same time. You're going to drop them at 30% and just burn. Because, especially if you have two Nightblades in group, because then you will have executes. If you have stamina DPS, I suggest you do this at 20, because you don't have near as much burst. You're not going to be able to burst them down as fast. Unless you've got, like, Stam Blades or something in group, and even then that's kind of iffy. This boss is another one that's just kind of annoying. See all these little sewer grate things? If you can, you want your tank to be able to stand about here, because then he can see all of them. Your DPS are going to have to call out to you because you're not going to be able to see all of them. If you've ever tanked Bloodroot Forge, you know how the Minotaur, the second to last boss, or no, the third to last boss, sorry. He throws down his hammer, and he makes a little pimple on the ground, which shoots out, like gun from her cot. It's the same exact mechanic, it's just you have to walk onto this. The tank just taunts the ads, and DPS focuses ads whenever they spawn. It's a pretty long fight because he's got 10 mil health, I believe. And you're going to get a random dot on you, which drains one of your resources. He randomly throws a circle in the middle, I'll call it out, that will purge yourself of this. So everyone wants to go stand in that circle whenever they can. I believe it happens, now. Okay, so right here, everyone comes stands in the circle, and they get more damage and a random recovery, I believe is what it is. And you can burn the boss a little easier. The boss also gets stunned if everyone does that, I believe. And it purges that debuff from you. Now, this is basically just keep on doing this, and then I believe at, what is it, it's like 40% or something, you get a big ad that you really need to nuke, because it's a pain on your tank. Where is it? No, 40% isn't that. Where is it? I call it out. There's another gun, see? You just hold here, and just hold block, and keep yourself up. It might be 30% then is what I'm thinking. It's somewhere towards the end of the fight. Okay, see, that's another one of those circles. We need to go walk in there. And see, damage and ultimate regen is what it is now. Okay, 25% is whenever it happens. You get one of these guards, and the DPS need to focus it because it does hurt the tank quite a bit. Or just AoE it down like we did, but we have really good range DPS tonight. This is a lot harder on Stam. I've done it with 2 stamina, but, like, the boss beforehand, we had to kill it every ad phase or else we died. Okay, here's the last boss. Okay, so this is Zan. This is one of the better bosses in this dungeon. I really liked its mechanics. So I believe it is 75, 50, and 25, and then I think it's like 15, I think, is whenever that last one hits. She's going to split up into ads like this. You got to kill the ads. And then she's going to throw her shield randomly, and there's like 3 spots it can spawn in, and you all need to run into it until that green stuff's away. Then run out, and everyone stacks behind the tank. You've got to make sure that you're behind the tank. And the healer spams springs, that way if it is on the tank's not going to die instantly. Because it blocks this beam, and she's going to stun someone, and that someone who got the beam on them is going to die otherwise. It's an almost instant one-shot if you did not do this. So same thing, they run behind the shield, and then they run behind me. If you get it, you want one of your ranged EPS. You want preferably at least one ranged DPS in here, if not two, so that you can have someone block that from the tank, and it makes it a lot easier to have a shield in here. If you get that fire mechanic, you need to run around in clockwise fashion like the healer did just there, and kite those. Because if not, those firewalls hit you, and it does a lot of damage. Think like Ash Titan from VMA, about that damage. And that's really about it for this fight. Hard mode was like super chaotic. We haven't figured out hard mode yet, but we really want to try learning it. If as soon as I figure out the mechanics for hard mode, I'll go ahead and make a guide on it. Yeah, cause see, it's like 15% is whenever this last one is. Well, I hope this got you clear in the dungeon. It's a really fun dungeon, and I really like how they mixed in a lot of mechanics from like trials and stuff. That was a really good implementation of it.